Thriver podcast. I'm Christina Johnston.
And I'm Bridget Kostas.
And we really think you guys should listen because we think we're pretty funny.
We are pretty funny.
Yeah.
We're unfiltered. It's real. It's sometimes what you need to hear.
Sometimes what you don't.
But tune in.
That was good.
That works.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Good morning.
How's your week been?
Oh, it has been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But it's been great. I can't complain.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really feel like listening to your complaints, so it's a win-win.
Oh my God. Oh, my mic's on. Sorry.
I know she's so rude, David. She's so
Sorry
rude.
about that. I thought I was muted.
Did you hear
I
this,
love that we
listeners?
just got a real reaction out of David. That was so funny.
That was great.
That was genuine.
Okay, I would like to share some big news with our listeners.
Tell me, are you pregnant?
No,
Oh.
Girl, no, that's awful. But the big news is, as of tomorrow, Christina will be on my side of the 40 fence. Let's go! Big day, big day.
Big day for you.
I'll also play this.
That's what it feels like. I'm just like, enjoy your last day of being in your 30s.
How do you feel?
You know, I'm not looking forward to it, but I like the way being in my late 30s sounds better than being 40. I feel like I will have officially crossed over. You know, I think there's some truth in that.
Loaded.
Yeah.
This business is folded.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What did you do on your 40th birthday?
I went to Miami.
I remember that you and your hubs went with some friends.
Yes, it was amazing.
I mean, I'm not really sure why I didn't get invited, but
well,
I mean,
awkward.
awkward.
You were too young.
Yeah,
like you
that's-
had babies.
yeah,
like
that's probably what it
that was a
was.
long time ago.
Yeah.
Come on now.
All right. Fair enough.
I don't know if we were friends, but I don't know if we were like, let's travel together friends yet. Were we?
Well, you know, maybe I guess that was just how I felt and it was one-sided. So good to know where you're at, friend.
But now
we could travel.
Now let's travel together. Let's share everything, Christina.
Oh, gosh.
Even our travels.
Oh, boy. Well, thank you for outing me.
But you know what? I'm not invited to your 40th birthday travel, so I think we're even.
That's true. You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Well,
true.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what?
Even
That's fair
Steven.
enough. Even Steven. So today's episode, we have been working pretty hard on this one. And I think this one is a really important one. I know not that any of them are less important, but this one, I think the stakes are a little bit higher for us to nail today's episode.
I agree. And in true fashion, because we would not be backseat thrivers if we weren't squirreling and jumping all over the place. In true fashion, I think we are both just so incredibly passionate about this subject that we are we're going to hit so many different topics and come back and regroup and hopefully we'll stay on target as much as we can. But I think, we're both really excited to share our lessons learned and really excited to just have this conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's really important.
Yes. So today we are talking about blended families. We're talking about co-parenting. We're talking about the effective and healthy ways so that your kids can thrive in what is usually a very difficult situation. And whether you have been doing this for a few days or 20 years, I think we've got some lessons learned and some tips for anybody at any stage. And I think that what's kind of cool about this episode is you and we've got such a big age gap, because you're so much older than me. And you now have 4 thriving teens on the other end of this, where I'm sort of on the newer end of it. And so
not even teens. I have adults now.
Oh gosh, I know. You're
I
right.
know.
They're in their 20s. You only have
I
one teen.
I only have one teenager now.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's been so awesome having you through this journey, because I've always had you to talk to of like, okay, this just happened. How do I handle this? And, aside from Googling every question I have, it's like, I want to hear it from somebody who's lived it and who's been through it. And anybody who's been through a divorce, excuse me, knows it's just the worst thing, and with best of hopes and intentions and all the patience in the world, it's really hard.
It is really hard. And then let's add kids into it.
Right.
So now, it's one thing to be going through a divorce and then be going through a divorce with children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talk about high stakes, right? We've got but I think that we have put together a really thoughtful show to kind of hit a lot of these areas. So if you guys are listening, our phone line is open. If you have any comments, if you have things that have worked for you, if you have questions about maybe what's worked for, probably mostly Bridget. She's more the expert on this one because she's got a few years ahead of me on the parenting front. So we're at 520-477-1106, and we'd love to hear any input from our listeners. So let's dive in a little bit right now. So when you and I were doing the research on this, I have to tell you, I was shocked at some of these statistics.
Mind blown.
I mean, truly. And I think when you're going through a divorce, when you're trying to raise kids after a divorce, it feels really lonely. It can feel you feel like that you're the only one this is happening to, when in reality, 40% of married couples with children are step families, whether that's a step parent, a step sibling. And I was shocked hearing that. And not that it made me feel better about my situation, but it certainly made me feel less alone in it. And honestly, like maybe, if I'm being super honest, a little bit less guilty, because I think any parent who has gone through a divorce with kids, there's that guilt that just, it's really hard and it takes a long time for it to go away.
Yeah. And and you said 40%. What we were looking at is like this 40-40-40. Like the national statistics of divorce rates are about, 42% of Americans, your marriage will end up in a divorce. 40% of those divorced families have children. And as you were sharing, 40% of families out there are step families. So it's like that 40-40-40. And as we were diving deeper into it, half of all children in the United States will experience a divorce or a separation throughout their childhood. So, I mean, just think about that. Just think about those statistics. And then when we think about that, we look at, all right, these are the divorce rates. This is the stats of our country. This is what our children are exposed to. Now what?
Right.
Now what?
Right.
Are you, do you have joint custody? Do you have sole custody? What is that other parent involved in your child's life? Are you parenting solo? What does that look like? And if you're not, what is that co-parenting behavior, and what is that co-parenting communication? And that's really what Christina and I are looking to share with our listeners today, is because both of us are co-parenting. And as she had mentioned earlier, I'm almost 16 years down the road with my co-parenting stats and issues and solutions and resolutions and
some high conflicts,
some high conflicts, a lot of collaboration over the last few years. But I think we all start somewhere. And how do you grow to make that a more beneficial experience for your children?
Right. And I think one of the things that after we finished going through this show, such a lesson and such a conclusion is step families are as typical as they are complicated. You are dealing with such high emotions, such high conflict, and such a potential for a really disastrous outcome for your kid. And while we know that the stats, I mean, it's pretty heartbreaking to read the stats about divorced children and a lot of the negative impacts that it has on their future selves. And so one of the things that I think we tried to come through within our notes and tips and all the research that we did is it doesn't have to be the most disastrous outcome. You really can make this, but that it's so hard. It is so hard, but you have the power to control what you can control and make it a better environment for your kids. And so I think that's really the biggest takeaway is that we have the control within our own situation. Yes, we know you cannot control what the other parent is going to do and say, but you can control how you react to it, how you respond to it, and what you do with that. And so, I think that the biggest thing is prioritizing your child's well-being over everything is at the end of the day, that's got to be your number one. And it is so easy to lose sight of that when you're in the moment, when you're in a heated exchange of words, to forget that. And it's just, nothing will test you like a divorce will, I think.
Well, and I think you made a good comment there when you're like, it's hard. It's hard. I don't think anything that's done well comes easy. And I think anything that you do well, you have to work hard at. And parenting alone, whether or not you have an amazing marriage or an amazing partner, whatever your relationship is, parenting is hard. It is hard. And, you don't always see eye to eye with your significant other that you're living with. And, there's a reason why you're divorced. There are differences. There are disagreements, or you don't see eye to eye. But how do you make this a positive experience for your children?
Mm-hmm.
It may not always be the positive experience for you and your ex, or you and your, baby daddy, baby mommy, whoever it is. But it can always be that positive experience for your kids. And
Absolutely.
I think that is like one of the things that we want to really share here today is everything that we're going to be discussing. There's a lot of communication. There's a lot of boundaries. There's a lot of discipline, self-discipline. And I think that reaching these specific goals and dynamics is going to take a lot of work. And that's something that Christina and I are super excited to share with you right after this next break.
All right.
Welcome to Snap Fitness. This is my gym.
And my gym.
And this is my gym.
And my gym.
Here at Snap Fitness Marana, we welcome all kind people trying to stay healthy.
Ready to make us your gym? Click the link below, message us on social media, or give us a call 520-400-4646.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Your favorite radio just got bigger, bolder, and better connected. Live the Dream Media is revolutionizing how you stay tuned in. With our explosive growth in online radio and our brand new mobile app, your entertainment goes wherever you do. Stream your favorite shows, discover new hits, and connect with audiences across the digital landscape, all at your fingertips. Advertisers don't miss out. Join our expanding digital network and reach engaged listeners across platforms. Download the Live the Dream Media app today and experience radio reimagined.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
You're listening to the Live the Dream Media Network, Arizona's premier live podcast studio and online radio.
All right, we're back. Welcome back to Backseat Thriver. we finished with wanting to get into the different styles of co-parenting. And I think each one of us, I know I say this often in my response on a couple of our shows, it's situational. Everything is situational, right? And when we were doing our research, these three really resonated with Christina and I as far as the types of co-parenting. There are multiple styles out there, but I think, when we're looking at the best outcomes for our kids and, the most beneficial ways of doing this, in our opinion, is really...
And our opinion is fact, by the way. So
there you go.
There you go.
Cooperative.
Are you sure? Yeah. I know. Hey guys, I'm back in the booth. So.
Oh, finally, Raul.
Finally, Raul.
And it's been about 2 weeks. I was sick, so I missed you guys.
Yeah.
So we are experts, right?
You guys are my favorite, so I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
All right,
good response. Good response.
Good.
So cooperative parenting, parallel parenting, and conflicted parenting.
So to be clear, we did not make these up or pick and choose. These are the three types of co-parenting.
These are the three main types of co-parenting. And when we look at these, I think at least in my co-parenting journey, I think I've hit all three of these. And I know every situation is different. Your divorce scenarios are different. Your parenting agreements are different. So, your style on how you co-parent is going to be different based on your situation. But I think, our goal here is to really help you and your children through this journey. And so when we talk about these three key parenting styles, that conflicted style is really identifying those ongoing arguments. There's a lot of negativity in the communication between you and the other parent. And at the end of the day, that really causes a lot of stress for our kids, right? Because every engagement, every drop off, every child interaction where you're exchanging the kids, it's like a hostile exchange. It really is. It can be. And then you have your parallel parenting style. And that is where your communication is limited. It's only based on the necessary communication that needs to be had. It's usually very straightforward. And a lot of parents within that parallel co-parenting is separate household rules. And different houses, different rules. If mom has one rule of going to bed at 9:00 and dad has another rule of stay up until whenever you fall asleep on the couch, different houses, different rules. And then you have like your golden parenting, co-parenting style, which is that cooperative style. And that's really that high communication where you guys are talking about everything to, oh, did you see he got an A on his essay? And he has, there's PTSA this weekend. And do you want to make the Rice Krispie treats or do you want me to? Because,
oh my gosh, do you do that?
No.
I mean, and if you're making Rice Krispie treats, they better be the one that Chef Tyler, the recommendation he gave us.
That I'm still waiting for you to make for us.
Well, I told you I ate them all, so there was nothing left to give you.
Whatever, you're just making excuses.
What? Yeah.
But ultimately, it's that collaborative parenting. It's how are you guys coming together? Like, just as if you were in a positive marriage. I think like cooperative parenting, parallel parenting, conflicted parenting, we deal with these even in a marriage. You deal with these types of styles even in your marriage. If you're correcting dad about how he counseled your child after, how he disciplined,
right.
Or mom is too lenient and you're letting him get away with this, or I think you do all of these things in a marriage or in a house where both parents are living and parenting that child. But I think it's really important to define these three and what is your style and how is this affecting your kid when you are separated.
Now, I think it's fair to say that everyone should and could aspire to the collaborative parenting. But I think, as we know, divorce just equals high conflict. I think in the best of situations and in the most well-intended divorces, you're going to probably hit all three of those co-parenting styles at some point.
Absolutely.
Because getting divorced is hard enough, and then adding the layer of kids and ensuring that their needs are met, which is the top priority, it takes a lot out of you. So, I think what you said about the joint agreement on rules, I think for me personally, that has been such a huge impact for the better. Understanding, I like the different house, different rules come back sort of when the kid's like, well, mom lets me do this. Yeah. Well, dad lets me do this. Great. I don't care, that sort of thing.
And they're smart.
They are.
They're going to use you.
Oh, absolutely.
they're going to find that little guilt string and, well, dad allows me to have ice cream at 9 o'clock before I go to bed.
I guess you don't love me. We've been there.
You're like, damn it. Okay, fine. You can get ice cream, but you're still going to brush your teeth.
Yeah.
And there is, there's a little bit, throughout the journey, there is a little bit of competitiveness, and that's your own competitiveness. That's your own insecurities. And that's hard to deal with too.
It's so hard. It is so hard to deal with. But when and I think probably the best way, I like how you kind of started from the bottom and worked up, because you're going to experience bits of that. But I would say my biggest takeaway, the joint agreement with the co-parent on bedtimes, on rules for technology, social media, down to, are they allowed to have dessert every single night for any parents who that's really important to? It really gives the kids safety and stability. And I think that when they know, okay, I'm transitioning to the other house, there's not this, okay, I can go there and I don't know the expectations. It's like your rules flow where you flow. And I just think that really just creates a better environment for the kids, just knowing what to expect. We talked a lot about calendars, having visuals for the kids so they can see what days I'm at mom's house, what days I'm at dad's house. I know you did that with colored stickers, and I have a dry erase board in my son's room with Monday through Sunday, and he can see I'm at mom's these days, I'm at dad's these days. And so I think just so much of this is out of their control. Any ounce of control and stability that they can grasp onto is just going to make them feel a little less lost in the chaos of it all.
And I loved the bringing them into the awareness of where they're going to be. Not the awareness of what's happening in the day-to-day life. They don't need to be the messenger. They don't need to be your messenger of, well, tell dad this, or you can't do this, or tell mom this, and she can't do that. Your child should never be the messenger, but your child should be aware of their days that they're with you, where they're at on specific school events. These are all little things that you learn along the way as you're identifying these new routines, and your kid too. Like, what age levels are they? As we're talking about color coding a calendar, this is really important for your younger kids. As your kids are older, you guys might have a shared Gmail calendar that, these are the days that you're with dad. These are the days that you're with mom. All right, you have a game on Tuesday. Make sure that you have your white jersey. Is it at my house or at your house? There's a lot of planning that goes into this.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second because I think I lied a minute ago when I said my biggest takeaway. No, let's talk about sports in two households, okay? Why doesn't anyone scream this? Like, I feel like coaches at the beginning of ordering jerseys and uniforms for any sport be like,
hey, if it's sports sucks, I want in. I'm sorry.
Okay, listen up, Raul. Raul, are you from a divorced home? I don't think so.
No, my parents have been together since I think 8th grade.
Yeah, of course they have.
Blessed.
So, but lots of people. You probably have a lot of friends that come from divorced homes. Maybe 50% of your friends are from divorced homes.
That's what studies say.
Yep, that's what they say. But when it comes to the sports, get 2 sets of everything. Like, it's however much money it is. I am telling you, some of the highest moments of conflict have been me calling my son's dad. You have the white effing jersey. Why don't I have that? Like,
you're a coach, Raul. Do you deal with that? Like, I was at my dad's house last night, but my jersey's at my mom's. I don't have it.
Yeah.
It is.
I always say, if that happens, text your coach and let him know before.
Yes.
There you go.
That way you don't show up without a belt or something.
Yeah. Well, story of my life. My kid just looks like a hobo. It's like, okay, well, we found one yellow sock. The other yellow sock is at dad's house somehow.
I think that comes back to the planning, right?
Exactly. But what if you're not great at planning?
Well, it's not your kid's fault.
Exactly. That's
Shame
true.
on you, Christina.
Shame on me. But I will tell you, from this moment on, any sport that my kid does, I am texting or emailing whoever and saying, we need 2 sets of everything, and I will pay you whatever you would like, because it is the cost of my sanity.
And your kid playing,
and my kid showing up like in the absolute, this was a horrible thing that I did. I didn't realize how bad it was until my husband was like, I can't believe you did that. And then when he says that, I'm like, oh shoot, that must have been really bad. I sent my son, he was playing club baseball. He had played a different club the year before, and they had to wear the white frickin' jersey. Well, guess where the jersey was? It was at dad's house. We didn't have time to go get it. We thought we had everything. It was just that one that, probably got stuck inside the washing machine or something. For whatever reason, we didn't have it. So I was like, whatever, it's just practice. I'll put him in the white jersey of his club team from last year. It's still a white shirt. He'll blend right in. He walked up, those kids grabbed him. I mean, they did this with love, but literally threw him against the dugout fence and was like, how dare you wear that jersey? And I'm watching this, and they're like clawing at him, like, take that off. Fortunately, he had a little undershirt on under it, and they ripped that shirt off him so fast. Now, he was laughing and probably felt so special for all of the attention, but don't do that, parents. Don't put your kid in the competing club jersey.
We have taped numbers on the back of the jersey a couple of times. Like, oh gosh, okay, well, you're going to be in the keeper's jersey today, and we're going to tape something on your back. But it is, I mean, this is not your kid's fault.
Right.
It's not your kid's fault that he's in or she is in 2 separate houses. You guys need to make it work, and you're going to have to do this. My son is 18, and I'm still texting him, hey, you have an away game tomorrow. I see your away jersey in your laundry hamper. Oh man, I thought it was a dad's.
Yeah.
But now he can drive, so he's coming home, he's picking it up. Parents, this will be great once you're, if you're co-parenting, when your kid gets their license, it's one of the greatest moments in history that you're no longer having to do all the commute back and forth and all the exchanges, and it does get better. But I think that as we're talking about these three core co-parenting styles, you may start with conflicted, and the goal is that you get to that cooperative, collaborative parenting. And just from our experience, as I mentioned in probably our first or second podcast, my husband and I, we Brady Bunched it. I came with 2, he came with 2. Excuse me.
Ew, do you have COVID?
Not yet. Let's wait till the end of the show.
Did I give you my pneumonia?
Did you get that?
No.
Oh, awful.
You guys want to hear the story real quick?
Stay in the box, Raul.
I had pneumonia one week, got the flu the next week. The flu turned into pneumonia again, and I had the flu and pneumonia.
And that's what happens when you don't sleep for 3 days straight.
No, that's what happens when you make out with too many girls at the bar. Raul, this is a mother speaking to you, okay? Get it together.
Come on, Mom.
This is very preventable.
And this is what you don't do to your children. You don't shame them on a podcast. Sorry, Raul, we love you.
Well, did you at least have your mom helping take care of you while you were sick?
Okay, here's the sad part. My best friend Erica dropped off a bunch of stuff for me, and my mom took care of me really good, but then she ended up getting the flu right after me, so she paid for it.
But you know what? She wouldn't have had it any other way. She knew that she was probably going to get sick, and that's what you do for your kids. Like, you're not absolutely.
Hey, shout out my mom for that. She did.
Shout out to
Go
Raul's mom. took his sickness.
Yep.
It's what we do. We're like this. Give it to me so that you can heal and get on with your life, and I'll slowly die.
Yeah. You kind of expect it.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. But going back to, when I think of our co-parenting journey, like I had mentioned, you're divorced for a reason. There is some sort of conflict there, right? So we started with that conflict style of co-parenting. And then as you go through this journey, we went to that parallel where it was, okay, we don't want to argue. We don't want to disagree. We don't want that negativity. Let's limit our communication. Let's just discuss the necessary, because all of the emotion and the details in between isn't necessary.
And you both came to that conclusion.
And we came to that conclusion. And then it was, all right, separate houses, separate rules. And then as time went on, and as, we both had our kids in sports. So you're seeing, the other parent at practices, at games, and you're going to have that, you're going to have that interaction, just like they say in the workplace, manage up. In life, parent up, be that parent that you've always wanted to be, regardless of whether or not you're still with that, baby mama, baby daddy, whether or not you're with that other parent. And now we're at that point, we have a soon to be 24, 23, 20, 18-year-old. And I feel so blessed that my husband and my ex-husband can communicate. We shake hands. I see my husband's ex-wife. I give her a hug. We are now at the point where we are truly in this collaborative, cooperative co-parenting, and we now have adult children. And we were so blessed that 2 of our boys graduated college, and we celebrated together. We were at events together.
Nice.
And when you think about that, that's what your goal is. You're going to be at your kids' weddings. You're going to share these momentous events. You can have 2 Christmases now, but you can only have 1 high school graduation. You're only going to have 1 college graduation. You may have a couple of marriages according to our statistics, but you want to be there to co-grandparent.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's what we're striving for at the end of this.
Right. And that's, I think, what can be difficult to see is it feels so daunting when we're not just getting them to 18 and then we're done. I mean, there was the entire life after that. And, as adult children, do you call them adult children?
They are adult children. Yeah.
When you talk family vacations, holidays, it only gets more complicated. And as they build their own families, time gets less and less. And so being able to celebrate together, I think that is the ultimate goal. I'm so looking forward to the day when we can do that. And, I think it's having had you sort of as a guide for a lot of this, and hearing about all of the high conflict and what things were like, it's pretty devastating. It's really hard to imagine that for your kids. And I feel so fortunate that my son's dad has he's been so collaborative from the beginning. And I'm sure that there were definitely parts in the beginning where it was very high conflict and I was very difficult to deal with. And
way to take ownership.
Yep. Thank you. But I'm so grateful that we're at the point where baseball games, football games, whatever it is, we can all sit together. Our son doesn't have to look out and see mom on one side and dad on the other. It just, we get to, everybody hugs when they see each other. And it's just such a more peaceful place to live. And now again, I don't want it to sound like we just eased into this. There's a lot of work that comes with this. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some concrete advice and proven methods based on, of course, our expertise. So stay with us.
Welcome to Snap Fitness. This is my gym.
And my gym.
And this is my gym.
And my gym.
Here at Snap Fitness Marana, we welcome all kind people trying to stay healthy.
Ready to make us your gym? Click the link below, message us on social media, or give us a call 520-400-4646.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Your favorite radio just got bigger, bolder, and better connected. Live the Dream Media is revolutionizing how you stay tuned in. With our explosive growth in online radio and our brand new mobile app, your entertainment goes wherever you do. Stream your favorite shows, discover new hits, and connect with audiences across the digital landscape, all at your fingertips. Advertisers, don't miss out. Join our expanding digital network and reach engaged listeners across platforms. Download the Live the Dream Media app today and experience radio reimagined.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net.
All right, welcome back. So, talking about how do we get to the peak where we want to be? How do we get to the collaborative co-parenting style? So, I think the biggest thing, because I think it could be easy to listen to this episode and just say, "Well, aren't you lucky that your kids'
that
dads,
all of you guys collaborated?"
Right, like that's not the normal. You guys are only speaking for the small percentage because, we've
think we
seen
are.
it. It is really difficult. And I think we are absolutely the exception. And I'm so grateful for that. But I do think so much of this is stuff that you have to let go of in yourself in order to get to that place. So the biggest thing that I would say to anybody who's starting at the high conflict place, and I'm sure that there's a lot of flip-flopping as well. You know, things are good and then they're horrible and then they're okay and then they're horrible. You have to love your child more than you hate the other parent. That is your job. For whoever needs to hear that. I mean, that
mic drop.
That sat with me so much. And like for other people, you know, like your job is not to get angry at your co-parent about things that you can't control. Your job is to love your kid and make this as less burdensome as possible, because as you know, life is going to be hard enough. And I still have the chats with my son where he'll say things like, well, you didn't grow up with divorced parents. You don't know how hard it is. And the way that just like knife in your heart, I guess I won't speak for everyone. I know how much it hurt my kid, and that kills me every single day. Like that's the regret that I will take with me, is that my kid was so negatively impacted. But I don't think any kids are like, you don't get out of this unscathed. It's really hard. And so that's why it's so important for the adults to be the adults. You talked about not making your kids the messenger. Do not make your kid the messenger for your communication. It's immature and it's irresponsible. And just don't do it,
And I think we've all done it at one point.
Absolutely.
And you step back and you just think, that was really stupid.
Yeah.
And learn from it. Use an app to communicate. If it's too high conflict, and it could even be, text messages at whatever hour of the day without boundaries can be very frustrating for a lot of people. And I think in a lot of high conflict situations, you're getting messages in real time, no matter what time it is, whether you have the kid or not. Use an app. There are so many great apps for blended families, for divorced families, and ways to communicate on your own time. And I think that's a really important one. Monthly parental team meetings.
I have so much communication with my son's dad that to the point my son will get in the car and tell me something. And I'm like, yeah, I already know. Your dad already told me that you got in trouble. Trust me, I know. And it really helps present that united front where you're not getting anything past mom or dad. Like, and we talk enough that we know the big things going on in our kids' lives. And so I think that's a really, I mean, again, I know I'm super lucky on that one.
Well, and I think too, one of the things that my husband and I, when we were talking about this episode, one of the things that we stepped back and that we told ourselves, would you have gotten angry with that other parent if you guys were still together? Like, would you have placed blame on that other parent if you guys were still married or if you guys were still living together and with your parenting your child?
Mm-hmm.
No. There are so many situations where you're like, no, I probably wouldn't have, but because we're separate houses, like I'm going to point the finger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, that didn't happen on my watch.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that. Like, that's just, it's not a healthy way. One, it's not healthy for you to constantly berate or constantly place blame. It's not the other parent's fault that the kid fell off his bike. It's not the other parent's fault that they stubbed their toe or skinned their knee. Kids are going to be kids. That would have happened if you guys were together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's one of the things, like before you go and attack, why am I attacking? Like, what does this do for my kid? And obviously back to it's situational, right? There are some relationships out there that are not good. There are, some relationships out there, that you have sole custody for a reason,
mm-hmm.
and you are going to have your hawk up. And if something happens to your kid, there may be legal ramifications involved. We're talking about your everyday relationship here and your quote unquote normal divorce,
mm-hmm.
and disagreement. We're not talking about something with domestic violence or that has, legal,
any type of abuse.
Yeah. Anything like that. So, just kind of understand where we're coming from here. Obviously there are situations where you do need to have stronger communication. You do need to have, more tracking or more eyes on the situation, where Christina and I and our exes are very blessed in this situation that we have gone from these conflicted co-parentings to cooperative co-parenting. And it has taken a long time. Like I said, I am 16 years in the rearview mirror, and there are still things where I look back and I come to Christina and I'm like, okay, you could do it this way, or you could do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the benefit. And the benefit is always for your child.
Right.
Take your own personal goggles off here and put them on your kid. And how is this going to affect your kid? It's not.
Yeah.
Or it is.
Yep.
Depending on your reaction.
Yeah. It's so true. And I think something, when we're talking about the transitions and the going back and forth, and what you can and can't control. One of the things that this was trial and error, not having to keep everything separate. When it's Christmas or a birthday and my son is excited, Mom, can I take this to show Dad? Can I take it to his house? Absolutely. We've been in situations where it's like, oh, change your shoes because those shoes stay here. Those don't go there. Like, I bought those. Yeah. I mean, and it's just when you can take a step back and go, okay, pretend that you're a kid and one of your parents is saying, no, take those pants off. Those pants stay here. Put on the crappy pants, or what, the ugly sweatpants, whatever it is. And it was funny. I didn't even realize I was doing that until I did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so stupid. And so
it's not your things, it's the kids' things.
Right. It's not, it's your kids' stuff. Let your kids' stuff go where they go. And so that was such an interesting realization. And I had a conversation and I said, hey, how about I'll do the big haul at the beginning of the school year. I'll just pick up all the clothes and shoes and we'll, split it later. But we don't have to worry about whose is who. Just let our child have his clothes and his shoes and let them go. I think that just takes off so much pressure from your kid, because there's been a lot of times too where he's been like, oh shoot, I was supposed to take these back to dad's, or dad told me not to take this to mom's, or mom told me not to take this to dad's. That's another layer of stress that your kid does not need.
Yeah.
They did not ask for this.
And it is like, as our kids have gotten older, they leave things in their car. You know, God help them if their cars ever get broken into, the hundreds of dollars of shoes that they have in the back of their car. Because they're like, no, I don't want to have to go back over to your house and pick up my shoes if I want to wear this outfit. Or I don't, I want to wear the weather's going to change and I want to wear these pants and they're at your house. I just want to keep them with you. So I think I love that, because like you, I didn't learn it. It was in hindsight that I was like, oh, why are we doing this? This is your stuff. Of course you can take it with you. And now, like I had shared on one of our other episodes, now we're at the point where, a half of our kids are out of the house now, but I mean, we would take pictures of all of the missing socks and like we would go fish with our socks. Do you have these socks at your house? I have these ones at my house, because
funny.
we're missing like 8 pairs of socks. So it can get to that point. It can get to that point where your sole focus and your sole communication is about the well-being of your child.
And do you know what also helps this situation so much? And these might be conversations that you have to have, as you start introducing new relationships into this family. One of the things my husband and I talked about was that my goal is to have a really healthy relationship with my kid's dad. And that was important to me. And I think an insecure man would have been like, okay, well, hold on. Like, what does that mean? I don't want to sit next to him at the baseball games. And having a partner who is a true partner and who can see the bigger picture of things I would not have married a man who had a problem with trying to have a good, healthy relationship for my son.
I think ex-respect is huge.
Oh, I like that. Ex-respect.
Ex-respect. I think that is so big and so incredibly helpful for your children. You are going to be, if you get into a new relationship and you're inviting a step parent or a new boyfriend or a girlfriend into that relationship, boundaries is huge, and having that ex-respect is huge. And just because you don't agree with it, you need to go with your significant other and the way that they and their ex have been parenting, and you need to fall in line too.
Yep, absolutely.
It's huge.
Because it's not about you.
No, and that kid will find the weak link.
Well, I know how lucky I am, so I've been told, but I also see it now because my husband does not have, the girl's mom's not in the picture. And so there isn't that, we talked about loyalty to different parents and how difficult that is for kids when they feel like they might be betraying one by saying something wrong, whatever that issue is, or liking the new person brought into the family, the new stepdad, stepmom, boyfriend, girlfriend. And it's really tricky feelings for these kids who, am I not being loyal to mom by liking dad's girlfriend? And I think one thing that ties into that really well is help your kids celebrate their relationship with the other partner. And the more that you can manage up, I'm so glad you had such a great time with dad. What a great dad you have. The more that you can do that, going back to that united front, it helps your kid hear the message over and over that they're in modeling respect and healthy relationships. I just think that is so huge. And, the more that you can talk positively, however hard it may be. And trust me, I know there have been plenty of times where there was not a nice thing to say on both ends for everyone, right? That's natural. You're angry. It's highly emotional. I remember when my son's dad's girlfriend came into the picture, I was such a wreck. You get so self-conscious and insecure that, is my kid going to love me less? Is he going to, start stepping away from me because he has a new person in his life, and it's really scary, and it can make you be a really ugly person. And so I think that there's a lot of self-reflection and a lot of emotional intelligence that you need to level up pretty damn quick when it comes to that.
And it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
That emotional intelligence, I love that you brought that up, because it may be the first thing that you ask your kid when you get them back. So what'd you do? How was your weekend? How did everything go? Everything fine?
Who was there?
You're asking like these very probing questions to your kid, and maybe you don't need to. Maybe you just ask them, how was your weekend? Did you do anything fun? How did what'd you have for dinner? So I know I don't have to make, if you had spaghetti last night, I'm not making spaghetti tonight. That's happened quite a few times in our house. But I think it's really important to, let your kids have that relationship, a positive relationship with the other parent. And you don't always need to be probing. You don't need to know every single detail that happened at that other house. Why?
Right. Control. You have to let some of that control go.
You have to let it go. And you need to establish your new traditions. If it's just you and your kid now, or kids, establish your new traditions. Find something that works for you. Find a Friday night pizza and movies. That was something that we established with our kids. It was Friday night movie night, and we either had pizza with it or nachos. And the kids knew like this was a thing when we had them all together. Friday night movie night. And we started our own new traditions, but that came with a lot of work too. As you're blending families, it's now, okay, now your child is dealing with the divorce and the new situation. Then, whatever time goes by, now you're introducing, your significant other. And then time goes by, now you're introducing new children to the mix. So, having that's
going to be a whole episode that we're going to do. I think that has been the most eye-opening experience of being a stepmom, being a stepdad. And when we originally started this podcast, part of the inspiration sparked because I was trying to find resources for being a new stepmom and blending families. I even asked my therapist, I'm like, do you have book recommendations? And she was kind of like, there's not really any out there.
know, right?
And it felt really daunting to come into this situation. And all I knew in the very beginning of our situation was that these two girls, they were so sweet. And then once they realized I wasn't going anywhere, it was a light switch. And
you got teenagers.
They were mean. And it's fun because we talk about this now. I'm like, remember how mean you guys were? And we're not out of the woods yet, right? It's still a lot of change, a lot of transition. But I asked both of the girls, I said, I want you guys to come on our podcast one day when you're ready to really talk about this situation, because there's nothing out there where you have the voices of the kids saying, we as adults can sit there and say, these are all the right things to do. But what if we heard it from the kids who are going through it and who are in it and saying, man, it's really hard when you do X, Y, and Z. And man, that was the worst when you told me whatever, blah, blah, blah. And
we laugh. We laugh till this day. My oldest, he'll sit there and tell my husband and be like, I didn't like you and the kids in the beginning. He was just like, it was new. I didn't want it. I didn't like you. He was like, and I love you. I can't picture my life without you now.
But in the beginning, there was nothing he could have done.
No.
It wouldn't have mattered. And I say that now, like I not could have been because I think that I entered our situation and the girls validate it. Like, hey, you came in so respectful. That didn't matter. You could have done everything right by the book. It wouldn't have mattered. You still are taking away our dad, in some, however the kid internalizes that, you're still taking something away from me. And that it doesn't matter how much I love you, like you, it still hurts, and you're still the person that caused that in their minds,
Yeah, it's almost like it's a grieving period.
Yeah.
Your kids need to go through that grieving period of that separation. And whether that separation
or that addition.
Well, it's the grieving of the life that was.
Yeah.
It was the family that was. It was, in your case, it was the three of them. They had their little nucleus, and this is how it was. And then you just came in, and you and your son, and now there's something new happening here. And the same with ours. I had two, he had two, and we took our time. It took us a long time to get to there. Oh,
you took your time, did you? Well, I didn't.
Don't be a hater just because you had a shotgun wedding. I thought you were pregnant. I'm not going to lie. I was like, you marrying this guy because you're pregnant? Oh, no, I love this guy. Okay, never mind. We like him.
Oh, yes. I know. Okay, Bridget. So we need to wrap up, but I think that this was a really big. I was nervous for this episode a little bit. It brings up some angst, and it brings up some guilt, and it brings up. But I think if you're not feeling any of that, you're probably not as invested as you should be. So you better be feeling guilt and all of these things, right?
I'm a little farther removed from the guilty portion.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I hear what you're saying. I definitely do. And we will have another topic on really blending. I think it's really important, as we're talking here today about co-parenting. Our next episode, not this next Friday, but the following Friday, we'd really love to talk about blending families, as that's something that we both have done. I've come out of this very successfully with 4 thriving kids that have such a beautiful relationship. They respect each other like friends. They get mad at each other like real, blood siblings. And it is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. But blending a family takes so much work. And we have a lot of tips and tricks and, post-game wrap-ups at the end of the night that we really want to share with our listeners. So hopefully...
Don't blend a family in January. Don't blend a family during dry January. That's my advice. Wait till February.
Wait till February. Or the summer when you can travel.
Exactly.
Vacation. That's always fun.
Well, I loved that we did this. I hope some things that we said, I hope that our listeners found useful. And, if not, maybe if this doesn't apply to you, save it, because you might be on your way to needing this, or somebody close to you might be on their way to needing this. So
I think it's really important to step back in these situations. And what is my communication style? What boundaries do we need to set in place? How am I respecting myself and my child's parents? And how am I respecting my kid?
Yeah.
And I think those are really important things for our listeners and anybody that's going through this is, your goal is to get to that cooperative parenting. And if you can get there and you can be collaborative in the decision making and everything that happens in your child's life, I mean, kudos to you, because you are going to raise a very well-balanced child that feels loved by both houses.
And it is possible. And you are proof of that. So I'm so happy that we were able to get to share our experiences. I think everybody by now knows where to find us. So be sure to make sure that you're following ltd.media on Instagram. Make sure you're following us, because we're just cranking out the shows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, welcome. And we look forward to seeing you next Friday. We're going to have a special guest on our show. So follow us on Instagram at backseat.thriver, and you'll get a couple of teasers as to who's coming.
Woo woo. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.